I'm just going to do this video. It's all about my forehead. Okay, enough of that. Real quick. I watched a video just about an hour ago. I had to go back and watch it again. It was so good. And I gave a shout out to this guy probably several years ago when I was doing the prepper thing and all that. And he's been doing. I've been watching a lot of his videos the past 5-6 months, and he's putting some out very regular, and they're good topics. It's for the most part. The title of this one is Microeconomies and Parallel Economies in the Economy Collapse, Thoughts and Rambles. Okay. Parallel economies, that's something I actually learned on his channel. Had not heard of that before, parallel economies. The channel, I'll put a link down below, but just in case, see if this works here. Let's see. Okay. Dodson Arms Co. Dodson Arms Co. Let me see it right there. Okay. I said I'll put a link in there, but just in case. Dodson Arms Co. Great channel, guys. Very quick videos. But this one here, the one I'm going to link you to, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Barter has been on my mind, not because I necessarily want to do barter, but it goes back to this inflation scenario I've been thinking of. You know, if the dollar gets just so inflated, if that finally happens, what will be your currency? Or how can you protect the dollars you have? Or how can you get value in a time of inflation? And I think he explains something really well in this how there's more than one economy going on and where your focus should be. I'm not going to try to explain it because I'll butcher it. Just go watch the video. It'll be linked below. And then I'm going to talk about something else here just real quick. He, like his last video, the real cost of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, rural surveillance, secrets behind the stock market trading, will U.S. politicians kill your children? All kinds of stuff. Economic collapse. Where do we go from here? The most important skill for survival. And just really good topics. Very interesting. Stuff that I haven't heard talked about a lot as of late. The past couple of years. In the last video where I was talking about you had this chunk of money and you're worried about protecting it for inflation. Protecting it from inflation. A lot of you talked about land, this and that, and good comments. A couple of you brought up education. Let's say I got 50 grand sitting at the bank, and it's today, the current economic situation is today. But if I had 50 grand sitting in the bank, how could I protect that from inflation? Well, one way, and I think this is actually a pretty good idea, is education. Can you purchase an education, pick up another skill, or what's the other word for it? I can't think. I'm having a brain for it, but could you become sort of something medical or something, whatever the thing is, something where in the future that we may be going into. Let's say the big fear is inflation for me for this topic. You're going into an inflated scenario, inflated dollar. What skills could you have where you could maybe thrive? I think of a midwife. That just came off the top of my head. Can you fix cars? Can you fix solar panels or solar? One of those people. You're electrically inclined like that. We can take a look at someone's solar panel and whip that thing into shape. I'm just spitballing here. Like I said, I haven't got this figured out. I'll give an example. This is something I've kicked around. I talked about this in the last video about being able to produce meat. Okay, I can grow beef. I can grow goat, grow sheep, chicken, duck, even fish. My catfish are all gone, but I can do all that stuff. Well, if I could do that successfully in hard times, let's go with sheep. Sheep's my easy one. If I can raise sheep on the land that I've got, even in a drought situation or maybe a power down situation where I don't have flood irrigation in the summertime, if I can raise sheep to meat, raise them to slaughter, and then preserve the meat, whether it was be salting it, smoking it, jerking it, cooking it, freezing it, if I had that out, whatever the situation is. If I could do some of those where I could hand someone 6, 8, 12 pounds, 5 pounds of meat, well, I just created a currency. Okay, I have something to sell. I have a service to provide. I can feed someone elsewhere. Okay. So if I look at my 50,000 and say, okay, I need to enhance my situation there. I need to learn how to cut meat, maybe create some packaging situations here. What if it's in a grid down situation or whatever the case is, worst case scenario. But I could take that money and educate myself into one of these things that would maybe have me thrive in inflationary times. Okay. Like I said, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe you could pick up a trade. You could take that 50 grand, go out and learn something, whatever it is. And in hard times, you could be the guy. Here's another one, and this sounds funny, but I've had a lot of experience with this as a landlord. If you've not been a landlord, you have not had the opportunity to deal with plumbing like a landlord has. Anyhow, clogged toilets, clogged lines, septic lines, this and that. I spent tens of thousands of dollars in the past couple of years just on either expanding or repairing septic lines, bringing in new septic tanks or whatever the case is, adding on, repairing, whatever the deal is. And if you understand septic, it's very simple. It's not a complicated. I mean, we all know what rolls downhill. It's just a gravity system. But it's not something that people want to work on. And it's not something that a lot of people understand. They just know that they flush the toilet, it all goes away, and this, not something they have to ever see again. But it's actually, especially in tract homes today, they're all hooked onto a city system that goes out. But if you understand a septic system, I mean, there may come a time where that's going to be a skill, if not just for yourself. But a healthy septic system really takes little care. But my dad has built, you show these guys they got YouTube videos where people take the 55-gallon drums of plastic drums and they built a low-volume septic system. My dad has done that, several locations. And it works to this day. But that is actually a skill. It's something that people, I don't know how, as long as you have water, it works. And not, like I said, I'm just spitballing there. There's other things too. Maybe it's a simple thing like, tire repair. Can you fix a flat tire? I knew a guy had a little shop not too far from here on the side of the road that made a ton of money just fixing flat tires. He was the guy. Didn't judge you if you brought in a really bald tire and wanted to try to get a few more miles out. He'd just fix it and send you back out on your way. And that's a skill. And I always look at things from kind of an extreme point of view. Let's say it's really tough. Let's say we're ending up like Argentina or something like that. Well, you might be a tennis pro. Probably not going to do you a whole lot of good in a tough situation like that. Okay. You might know how to paint Lamborghinis and sports cars. Once again, probably not going to be a big moneymaker for you when everyone's looking for food. Okay. So I tend to look at things for that perspective. You might say, hey, I've got this, my sister's very skilled at doing fingernails, she's a manicurist. Well, that may not be very popular or, necessary. So I'm just spitballing here. If you took that 50 grand that I spoke of previous videos and bought some sort of education that gave you a skill or a service that you could provide for others that people would pay for or trade for. I also like the idea of no currency, no cash trading hands. You're just service for whatever. That's another fantasy, anyhow. But if you take that 50 grand and give yourself some sort of a leg up, a skill that's marketable, you can trade goods. You could have 3 chickens in your backyard raising eggs. If you don't eat them all, you can sell them. That's just a very small idea of what I'm talking about. Anytime you can create something, okay, just like with the sheep, if I keep them on the property, if I have enough feed out there laying on the ground, they are my sheep. And there is a male, and there are females, and they're as horny as all get out, and they'll be spitting babies out. Okay? I can't stop that from happening unless I get rid of the male. Not like it takes it's not rocket science. But I can produce meat. From that point forward, if I keep them alive, keep them fed, they get weighed on, and I can process them, I've had something to do with creating a food resource that can be, if I can handle it properly, can be traded as a good. Okay, like I said, it's just one idea. But anyhow, check out Dodson Arms Co. Great video. Like I said, I'll link it down below. And just like I said, I don't have all the answers for this, but just another idea of what you could do to save that $50,000 from being devalued so much with inflation. By inflation, is you could take it and purchase an education with it. Pick up some sort of skill or trade. Read a little, pray a lot. Love you, God bless.